to intentional. If you're watching live or watching this on video, very intentional use of words there. Welcome to the 21st episode here of the Empire and Exile podcast. I'm your host Dorf, joined by Josh, like we do each and every time. How's it going tonight, Josh?
Awesome, man.
All right.
Very good.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
No vaccines in my body, so I'm doing great.
Nothing yet. So, so we're going to be specifically talking, as you can see on the screen tonight, if you're watching live or on video, vaccines and the NAP, meaning the non-aggression principle, arguably the foundation of libertarianism. Or is that a fair statement there, Josh, or is that a founding type situation rather than libertarianism, which is not as extreme or not as hardcore in that from that perspective?
I think most card-carrying libertarians would agree with the statement. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough.
With the statement you made.
Well, let's get us. On tonight's episode, Josh, I want you to take us through here. What is the NAP? Give us a brief definition.
The NAP?
Yep.
Sure. The NAP is a very simple thing, so I'm going to keep the definition simple and short and sweet. The NAP, as Dorf said, is the non-aggression principle. And basically, if you kind of sit and analyze that in your head for a second, it's pretty self-explanatory. The NAP, in essence, I like to define it myself as don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. That to me is the most simple definition of it. It simply means you are allowed to do anything you want as long as you are not the aggressor in a situation with another individual. The individual is the smallest minority. The individual is what cannot be picked on, what cannot be torn down, what cannot be pulled apart. So as long as you as an individual are not attacking, and by attack I don't necessarily mean wielding a battle axe. As long as you are not attacking another individual, you are free to do what you will.
Sure.
Is that good enough?
Sure, fair enough. And to you may call these folks, as we talked about in the pre-show, the libertarian contingent, but that same principle is being stretched to apply to many other things, like including you're a violation of the NAP is to pollute, or in this case, as we're going to talk about, is it a violation of the NAP to refuse to be vaccinated with a seemingly mandatory or highly suggested, or mandatory without being mandatory, vaccine on the horizon here for the COOF. It's a good time to discuss this. I mean, at the same time, you'd be forcing from the state or the state's perspective, or hell, even a private entity, would be technically violating the NAP by forcing somebody to take a COVID vaccine. But at the same time, as everybody, I don't agree with this, guys. At the same time, recently, everybody is, instead of treating people, treated them as disease vectors. It's March. Is it a violation of the NAP to knowingly or unknowingly pass a viral disease, a respiratory illness to somebody else? Your thoughts, sir?
Okay, well, the NAP, well, I feel like I don't directly do this on purpose, but I feel like I do this almost every episode, is this once again points to the genius of the Founding Fathers. Not that matters, because we don't listen to anything they say anymore, but to point out the genius of the Founding Fathers, this is why they felt that rights must be spelled out with the Bill of Rights. Speech, arms, right to assembly, religion, all these things, they thought they needed to be spelled out because people misconstrue deeply and brutally misconstrue the idea of the NAP. The NAP should be enough. It should make sense to people, but unfortunately it doesn't. So what you get is you get a lot of non-aggression principle sophistry, if you will. You get people out there making claims of, well, this is against the NAP. Okay. It does not apply to the NAP if someone is being forced to do something. Very, very, very basic principle of the non-aggression principle. If someone is being forced to do something, not being told they cannot do something. This isn't the government saying you're not allowed to kill people. You're not allowed to kill people because that's a violation of the non-aggression principle. It doesn't have to be killing people. You're not allowed to karate chop people in the throat. You can't just walk around karate chopping people in the throat because you're being the aggressor. So we here at the very tiny libertarian government, almost so small you can't see it, the perfect utopian libertarian world. We here at the statist government are still here to tell you you can't karate chop people in the throat. We're not saying you don't have the right to accept a karate chop in the throat. We're not saying that you don't have the right to practice your karate chopping method in your backyard all day long with Metallica blaring on 11. You are allowed to do that, but you can't karate chop your neighbors in the throat. You're not allowed to do that. But they're trying to.
You're not allowed to do that. And
sophistry.
You're not allowed to do that, and there's consequences for doing it. To do it.
Right. But the sophistry here is them pretending like the government can tell an individual what to do because their inaction will inevitably or potentially be a violation of the NAP. A gross misconstruing of the idea. The idea that you must wear a mask. You are not allowed to leave your home without a mask on because you might give somebody some sort of illness. You must inject this into your body because, quite frankly, this one doesn't even make sense to me when I try to use the statist sophistry because like I've said with masks jokingly when it comes to the vaccines. What, you're not vaccinated? I'm sorry, what, doesn't your vaccine work? As long as you got the vaccine, why the hell does it matter if I did? You're responsible for you. But what about the most the weakest of our population? Really? Okay. This is again, this is statist sophistry. I honestly don't know, because they do this well. They really do a very good job of describing, or what's the word I'm looking for here? Taking control of the term, the NAP. And I don't know if this is an instance of, because I don't like to give credit to the statist thinkers out there. I don't know if this is an instance of even a blind squirrel finds a nut from time to time, or if this was truly thought out in statist think tanks, at a university somewhere. How can we turn the NAP around on those who love liberty? But again, this is why I say that this is the genius of the founding fathers. They knew that if you simply said, this is a free country, that people would come up with things like, your freedom stops where my discomfort begins. Not a thing, guys. Really, not a thing. This idea that that you can't do things because, well, quite frankly, it comes down to people not even understanding what a right is, what liberty is. And there's people out there who legitimately think that you don't have the right to offend Karens. That, you know, that, oh, so you're saying you have the right to do whatever? You can just blast music even if your neighbors think it's too loud? Yup. That's exactly what I said, actually. Yeah, I do think you should do that. Yeah, I do think you have the right to play your music as loud as you want. I do think you have the right to walk out of your home without a mask. I do think you have the right as a business owner to say, yeah, you can come in here and, eat some conies. No, you don't need to wear a mask. You can come into my bar. You can come into my comic book store. And no, I'm not going to check papers to see if you have been vaccinated. No, these are rights. These are rights. So again, I say it does not apply to the NAP if someone is being forced to do something. Nothing in the NAP requires one individual, either individual in this system, to be forced to do something. It's not forcing someone to do something to say you're not allowed to kill people. You're not allowed to beat people up. You're not allowed to steal people's car. You can't pick people's wallets out. You can't pick wallets out of people's pockets. You're not allowed to do that. That's telling you what you can't do. This is where the NAP goes. Kind of like with a right. A right tells you what you have the right to do, not what you have the right not to.
Well, Josh, there's also, positive and negative rights. It's things you're allowed to do and things that people aren't allowed to do to you. So, sorry.
I think that's where the difference lies between the non-aggression principle and rights. They work hand in hand, but they're not the same thing.
Fair enough.
I don't have the right to not be killed, but you don't have the right to kill me. The government can't provide me. Nature cannot provide me. God Almighty cannot provide me with the right to not be killed. I could be killed.
Here's the thing, Josh. So
there is a person who hasn't made it out of this world alive yet.
The perfect analogy of what's a right. Okay, you're plop. You are magically transported and appeared on a abandoned desert island with adequate resources. Anything that's available to you there is a right. Anything else that you may want to do and co-opt through other people's labor is that's a privilege. So you don't have a right. This is saying you don't have a right to health care because that would require somebody else's labor. Where at the same time you have a right to self-defense as a human being. Actually stated example. So sorry if that's not making much sense.
Sure. Yeah. So an example would be, and this is the libertarian ideal. This is where the deserted island analogy always works wonderfully to show how ridiculous statists are in the way people think. Now, we are plopped onto a deserted island. There's 10 of us. 10 of us there. The other 8 people think we should wear masks. Dorf and I do not. We're walking around the deserted island maskless. And the other 8 decide that the only way to handle this properly is to lock us in a cage. To lock us in a cage. It is just the only way around this scenario. Or same with you're plopped down and there's 10 people there and 2 of them decide that they want to smoke this one thing that's on the ground. They found this one plant on the ground that they think it'd be really fun to smoke. And they decide that they're going to smoke that one thing. And the other 8 decide we need to lock those 2 in a cage. They are too dangerous. They are dangerous to the rest of us. Our safety is what matters here. Let's build a cage and let's lock them in it. This is liberty. That is government. That is government versus liberty in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Do you agree with my assessment that it does not apply to the NAP if someone is being forced to do something?
Yeah, absolutely. Because part of the NAP or just voluntarism in general is done by the consent of all parties. You can refuse to get a COVID vaccination. However, I just saw after we went live on air here, a topic that I did not put on the rundown, but we're going to briefly discuss. Some folks, some legal types have started looking through the case law and the law itself. Yes, your employer can make you get this under U.S. case law, under U.S. law, minus a Americans with Disabilities Act or the Civil Rights Act of 1964, being a sincerely held religious belief, are about the two ways you can get out of it. From a legal perspective, if your employer says you will be vaccinated and you say it's my deeply held religious belief that I'm not allowed to, and they fire you for it, they're about to owe you a lot of money and or your job back. If you have a compromised, you don't want to, it's too big of a risk for you to potentially fool around with the vaccine. Which we'll get into here later, the COVID vaccine is a new style of vaccine, one that's been researched and worked on for a while now, but this is the first time that we've rolled out a vaccine of the style. It's not necessarily injecting dead virus into you in order for your body to essentially learn how to program antibodies for it. We'll discuss that in a bit. So that I don't know if scientifically I haven't seen that. I'm not that well read or knowledgeable enough to say whether or not the new style a vaccine would essentially be a potential workaround for that. So if you're immunocompromised, if that doesn't put you in a bad spot, not sure. I'd have to look. Or Americans with Disabilities Act. If they say, hey, you must get vaccinated, and say I can't for a medical reason, they say you damn right you are. You're about to, there's going to be plenty of attorneys looking to set examples that will take your case. Pro bono, or there'll be plenty of interest groups willing to face discipline or retaliation or termination for refusing to take the COVID vaccine for one of the two previously stated reasons. You'll be very rich people, and you'll make some lawyers rich along the way. So
most likely just at first, though. If they really feel like sticking it to us, then they'll take their they'll take their licks, they'll hit it. Some trial lawyers will make some money, and they eventually will get sick of doing these cases pro bono, and then the government will inevitably win.
You're going to need to be in the first wave if you want to get on that lucrative potential legal action. Otherwise, it's going to be a very basic case. But the good part about potential legal action is there's one thing that corporate legal counsels and HR departments they're fucking cowards. So they will, once a couple big fish lose on this case, they'll probably drop it.
Sure. Oh no, I mean the businesses are cowards for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
The businesses are cowards for sure.
Your employer potentially mandating you take this, or else, or termination. I'm sure that the big boys are unlikely to try it because there's already, I'm sure, some specific attorneys client shopping per se. Not that that's technically legal, or it's not that it's illegal. It's against attorney code of ethics codes, and it could get you disbarred if you solicit your service instead of them coming to you.
most things lawyers do to make money could probably get them debarred.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
that's true. Outside of
the
very basic
the tightrope they walk.
Yep. The anyway, so I don't agree with the statement that a refusal to take a vaccine is a violation of the NAP, because in order for me to do that, like we've discussed here previously, not that I'm an adherent to the NAP, because I'm not a libertarian, or it is not my guiding principle. I am not about. I am pro-vaccine. I am anti-mandatory vaccination, because you know what? If I worry about me, and that should take care of it. If I want to do this, for myself, to I hate the argument you're seeing all over libertarian circles per se, where libertarians is on the internet, is that if God, I lost my train of thought. I don't know where I'm going here. Bail me out.
Argument amongst libertarians / libertarians.
That
circles on the internet.
Why am I? Here we go. Why am I going to take a vaccine for something that have a 99.9+% chance of surviving on its own? Well, assuming you were conventionally vaccinated in the United States in the last 20 or 30 years, you've been vaccinated for several things. Specifically your MMR vaccine, your polio's not technically deadly; it's crippling, and a bunch of other stuff that you've been vaccinated for since you were born. That also has a 99+% survival rate. That's not a great medically sound argument. Well, I get the point that I'm young, I'm healthy. This may knock me on my ass for 2 weeks. Why take the risk of a unproven, unknown vaccine, which very much is what camp I'm in right now. I'm not in a risk group. I am a larger person. I am technically overweight, but everything else that comes with that, such as cardiovascular health, I'm freaking solid. So I'm not worried about it. So I'm not going to be rushing out to, in a typical year, I just don't get the flu vaccine. If I get the flu or a flu-like illness, it's maybe 2 days of discomfort, and then I'm totally fine. So, I'm not going to be inclined to go get this one myself. Quite frankly, if you look at the 5-tier system that's being proposed, I technically could get in on tier 2 because of my employment, what I do for a living. But I'm not gonna now. But at the same time, Josh and you and I have talked about this off air, so I'm being genuine here. I'm not gonna fight it if it's take this or submit your resignation. I am just looking at what's going on with it here. It's not. Unfortunately, I'm going to take the cowardly position, and it's not. I'm not in a leveraged position right now. The economy isn't all that great. Although locally it's okay. That I'd like to risk unemployment right now. So, unfortunately, the state's going to outsource the tyranny to my employer. Even talked about or tossed around within our company. So I don't think we'd have. Generally speaking, they ain't for that woke shit per se, which leads me to believe that they wouldn't decide or to try and make this mandatory for any part of their workforce. Josh, and I know you work for a small company that you technically, I don't know if you technically part own, but yeah, you guys aren't doing that, I'm sure.
No. No, definitely no. I don't need to. My current day job isn't going anywhere. I work for a very small company, and my referrals come from my past work, which if I'm going to be honest, is excellent. So I'm not really too concerned with that. For me, that doesn't mean I'm not concerned for it for
Other people,
millions of other people. I am.
Yeah,
I'm very concerned with this idea
I'm
of
fully,
compulsory vaccination.
I'm fully willing to admit I'm willing to take the I'm going to take the coward's way out here, and gun to my head, I'm going to do it. Don't like it, but yeah, I'm going to do it.
I am not. Yeah. I am not. I have a lot of reasons. One of them, I realize that right now the vaccine is not compulsory. I mean, it's not even there yet.
Well, it's
and that it hasn't been said. But the idea that
it's gonna
go ahead,
it's gonna be outsourced. You're gonna see plenty of other countries, including our own, potentially, that say you can't come here without it. We want, as part of your passport, entry requirements to get into the country, you will need the additional paperwork saying you have been vaccinated for the coof. I bet you
Trump might get his wall after all.
Well, Trump may try it, but at the same time, it's going to be, of course, anything to do with immigration and border policies automatically going to get called a racist. Qantas Airlines.
No, that would be pretty ironic though when
yeah, all of a sudden the masked Davidians, I think, all of a sudden they become, demand strict border security out from other countries. It's like, that's almost like that was part of the argument of why Orange Man stricter immigration control. You should have listened. Not that this not that this gained.
It's almost like they think the same things. It's almost like they're on the exact same side, and they just play devil's advocate against.
No,
each
we're
other.
just against it because
listen,
Orange Man
Dorf.
bad. Go ahead.
Oh, for sure. Oh, that is why people are against it. But I realize this isn't compulsory right this second. I don't know to what level it will be compulsory, but the fact that this conversation is being had right now, whether or not people are going to be forced to have this thing injected into their body, the idea that this conversation is taking place and that
sad, scary,
big players
all of the above
from both political parties. Yeah, the fact that big players from both the Republicans and the Democrats here in the United States, or big players on the world level, aren't coming out against this, aren't coming out in favor of, no, we can't make people take this.
You've got a couple Republicans.
The propaganda,
but yeah, that's about it.
A handful, and they're not screaming loud enough. They're, they are
Josh Hawley's
for something this serious. They're quite honest.
Josh Hawley and Thomas Massey aren't for you.
No. I mean, the lip service from Thomas Massey, Justin Amash, Rand Paul, my boy. Yeah, the lip service from them is. It's a day late and a dollar short. All right. It's not enough. It's they're so late to the party on it. They're late to the party and they didn't bring their own beer. Is basically where they're at right now.
Well, to be fair, I'm gonna credit
minority.
Rand. I'm gonna credit Rand here. He at least was the one vocal critic in government of your Lord and Savior Tony Fauci.
Oh, for sure, man. Dude, if Rand Paul is the only guy in the U.S. Senate who I could cast a vote for any office. That's
You about
I've
to
made that
go?
statement before, and I'm going to make it right now.
About to go move to Kentucky to be
What?
become? You gonna go move to Kentucky to be a member of his constituency?
I in all seriousness, if I had a life where I could do that, where I was just
You could
I
pick
was
up and
picking a
move.
state to move to, yes, I would move to Kentucky, but I don't.
He has the
I
childrens.
have 4 kids. I have 4 kids, and I'm a divorced dad, so I don't I don't get to just
pick up
and
leave.
move and take them with me if I want to. Right. I
If
don't
you
have
do that,
I
you
don't have that
probably
luxury, and my business is here.
yeah. If you do that, you'll probably end up
Right.
with
No, for sure.
in prison shackles for
Right. Well. Right. No, for sure. For sure. So that's that's not it. But to me, there are, even if it's not made compulsory by the government right away, even if it's just made as a societal or cultural norm, I under the guise of a societal and cultural norm, but really compulsory. That's enough for me to go back to my idea that basically just when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. So I am going to resist this. I'm going to resist this.
You're a better man
not
than me,
because
sir.
it's easy on me. I will fight this till the bitter end. Quite honestly, if I was smart just for me, I, like you mentioned, Dorf, I work in a very small business. I work with my hands. It's most of my business comes from word of mouth. If I was smart, I would just try to stay under the radar. I wouldn't be out doing podcasts about this. I wouldn't be out preaching about, when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. I wouldn't be out saying stuff like that. If anyone could hide under the radar from this, it would be a healthy white male who works with his hands, for a small business, and is very much low key and under the radar. But it's not enough. I'm sorry. I want to fight for this, Dorf. This is it's wrong. It's wrong on many levels. And what's the old I'm gonna murder this here. The old Immanuel Kant. Yeah, Kant, the philosopher. I think it's Immanuel, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the philosopher Kant, and he basically said the idea that, I may not say everything I think, but I will never say that which I do not believe. I don't think that I got that quote right, but it's something like that. It's close. And that's it.
I think he was German. I think he wrote in German anyway, so it's, who knows, good enough translation.
Sure. There are dozens of reasons why I am against this sort of thing. And I don't deny that there's a few of them out there that I don't really want to say out loud, because some of you out there listening, some of the people out there would think I'm a kook. You'd think I'm a kook. So I'm not going to try to make all my kooky arguments. But the thing is, there's other people out there who have a different dozen reasons that maybe I think are kooky. But I support their right to have those reasons. I support them, and I support their right to take or not take a vaccine. The problem is, I want to be able to say that. I want to be able to say I support your right to take or not take it. But I don't actually support your right to take it, to be honest. And that sounds crazy, because in theory I do, but I feel like so many people out there aren't taking it because they have a right to. They're taking it because they feel they have to.
They're doing it as a
They're taking it because, right? They don't
signal
want
of that
to,
I'm a good person.
They don't think it's right.
The same reason that you see about
Right.
80% of the folks wearing a mask now that are, even though that the more and
Absolutely.
more, because I mean,
Absolutely.
the claim that this work is a counterfactual, the way it's presented, it can never be proven wrong. The one, unilateral double, blind study that has been done on the effectiveness of masks in the COVID-19 era shows they don't do it. They have little to no effect. They don't make anything worse, but they certainly don't do anything, per the data out of, it was Denmark, I believe. No, it was the Netherlands. Sorry, the Dutch. My bad. Not the Danes. The Dutch.
Yeah. Right. And I can make similar, counterfactual arguments as to why they're bad. But again, it can't be proven. Just like they can't be proven they're good.
Well, and here's the
so
thing.
You're right on, Dorf.
You're controlling, the masks work crew. Look what it does here in a laboratory setting. What you're forgetting is the average Joe citizen isn't fit tested for something. They're wearing a piece of cloth that they bought at the local knick-knack shop, or the mass-produced Chinese import non-medical mask that they bought at Rite Aid, or something their aunt made them. It's made of
right.
cloth. It's there is some validity to the claim that, just you and I unmasked aerosolized droplets can travel, 6 feet is the rough estimation, probably farther in specific scenario, in a laboratory scenario, 6 feet.
No, Dorf, it's 6 feet. Exactly. You're in danger. If you're at 6 feet away, you're perfectly safe. If you're 5 foot 11 inches away, you're in extreme danger. This is the science, man. I mean, haven't you watched the news? Haven't you watched the news, man?
If you get your science from the news, you're not getting science. You're getting fucking pop propaganda.
I hope everyone knows how facetious I'm being.
Yeah, I know you are. I hope everybody else is too. But you're not. There is some validity to the reduction of distance of travel when you have something over your face. The claim is the thing that average Joe citizen doesn't get is it's not an inbound filter. It's not a defense mechanism. It's just a splatter guard. I think that's it's a splatter guard. It's not preventing stuff from splattering out.
Probably.
It's just shortening the distance it'll travel. And you know what? If that's all it was advertised as, and this is what we were pushing it for, then fine. And the other thing is the idea that wearing masks in a setting like a grocery store, there's no point. You need to, in order to be outside of edge cases where extremely compromised immune systems, you and I would need to be sucking and sharing the same air, breathing in and out in the same air for about a 15-minute time period for me to release a viral load necessary enough, a potential infection. Unless, of course, you're following around at the hip, John and Susie, your neighbor at the grocery store, who are sitting there, and you're sitting there breathing the same air as them. I hate to break to you folks, your lungs aren't that big. The volume of air in an enclosed space like a grocery store is incredibly large compared to the size of your lungs. You're not getting to the level of infection necessary to, or you're not getting the level of air swap per se necessary to achieve infection of this illness specifically. Now that to give the folks the don't celebrate the holidays folks some credit, the largest place of individual transmission in this country for COVID is in the home. Mask or not, it's you're breathing most homes are not medically circulated. They're circulated to the point of a home to keep the moisture content doesn't crack, the building doesn't crack or mold and to keep you relatively comfortable. That's what homes are optimized for. This isn't a hospital setting or an industrial setting where the air is constantly circulated. Your home doesn't do that. I mean, it's largely impossible. If you have somebody who's unknowingly transmitting this to you and you're just existing with them in the home, that's where you're gonna get it. And they're right about that, unfortunately. As much as I hate the personal, from the personal freedom perspective, like fuck off, I can do what I want. I'm very much that. But at the same time, the science folks, they're not wrong about that. But it's also your right to say, well I hear you, I don't care, or I hear you, I accept the risks.
Here's the deal, Dorf. If it were up to medical professionals, if it were up to them, if we were governed,
you would never leave your house
by the scientists, you'd never leave your house. You live in a bubble. You would, there's, so the idea that they're right. Well, yeah, of course they're right. I mean, do you have a better chance of never getting sick if you always, for your entire life, stay 6 feet away from people? Well, of course. COVID didn't create that truth. But who the hell wants to live that way? You want to live that way? Really? I mean, people out there listening, do you want to live that way?
Nope.
Do you want to be told you have to live that way? Do you want to be told, okay, they say, well, but this is just temporary. So you want to be able to be told for your entire life when you have to live that way?
We're a day like 50 of 2 weeks.
Screw when your birthday falls. Right. So, I mean, people have family traditions. People have, yearly parties. Not everything is, Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. People have birthdays. People have days that they celebrate on their own. Do you want to live that life? Yeah. I need people to ask themselves that question. Do you want to live that life? Of course it's safer.
You've empowered.
Of course it is safer.
Hypochondriacs. The folks that think that the germ, the unseen, is going to kill them around every corner. Well, I hate to break it to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what's going to get you eventually. But, the reason that this danger, not this specific danger of COVID-19 per se, ailments, bacterial infections, even fungal infections, have always been there. If you knew how actually dirty your own home was and how little you can do about it, you'd probably just go jump off, the closest bridge. Like,
there's a lot of things out there that are very unsanitary that people do that I totally respect the right to do. Like, for instance, okay, here's one that I can fall on. People think, oh, Josh, you're the non-mask wearer. You're the guy. Okay.
One yet, right?
No, never in my life. I climbed in somebody's attic last month. Full insulation. A lot of people wear masks for that normally, but no, I wouldn't wear one just, cause
principle.
Because I don't do that. But yes.
Fiberglass be damned. Fiberglass insulation be damned. I'm
Yep. I've been doing it my whole life. It's all good. You cough a few times, have another cigarette, you'll be all right. The thing is, Dorf, is that okay? Here's an example. I don't like pets. I can't stand them. That's just my personal preference. I don't like pets. Pets are gross, man. You want to be sanitary? You better get rid of that pet.
You better get rid of your dog.
Disgusting.
Better get rid of your cat.
Yep. You let that thing crap. You let that thing crap in a box
in your house.
Right in your house.
Oh yeah.
Let
by
that
the
thing
way,
piss and crap in a box.
Oh, don't.
And then you scoop it up, and the stuff goes.
Do you brush your teeth in the same place where you poop? Ew. Hate to break it to you, it's pretty gross.
Right.
Guess what? Still do it.
So hey, right.
I acknowledge how gross that is.
My whole life,
I
and
don't
I'm
care.
Not gonna change. Yep. Yeah. I have a very small bathroom. It's like I'm 30 inches away. I think. But yeah, about 30, 36 inches away.
Yeah,
No, less.
That's
Yeah,
that's about
like
what ours
24
is.
to
Yeah.
30
It's
inches
about what
away
ours is.
from. Yeah, from where I do. So it's listen, guys. You want to live that life though? Do you? You want to be told that you're not allowed to ever hug your mom again? Hug your grandma? You can't shake your best friend's hand? Can't hug or kiss a pretty girl? Pretty guy? Whatever it is,
Whatever
is
floats
that
your
what you
goat,
want?
man.
Is that the life that I mean, you're told that you can't do these things and you're okay with it? Guess what, guys? There's a super easy way to never get an STD. Never have sex.
And even
Never
then, it's
have
not a
sex,
guarantee.
ever.
Even then, it's not a guarantee. It's incredibly and highly unlikely. But
again,
don't use a public restroom.
Again though, seriously, you want to live that life? I mean, do you?
By all means,
You want to be told from the government when you can hug people, when you can kiss people, when you can sleep with people?
Do you want? Oh yeah, the government
is that the kind of government
has also encouraged you to start reporting on your neighbors. Find me a time where that has gone well, where it doesn't immediately get weaponized into
right.
Bob didn't look at me nice, so I'm gonna go report on him to the Stasi.
Yeah. Right.
Look at some of the crazy shit.
Right. I mean, this is
look at the crazy shit that came out of Romania, Ceausescu's Romania, after the fall of that country. Like, you had people informing on their own spouses. Yeah, you're married to this person decades, and oh, by the way, everything the Iron Curtain falls, Ceausescu's government falls, the Romanian government declassifies everything, and you realize you're of 30 years is having a file. Anyway, let's get back on topic here.
Crazy stuff, man.
Let's get back on topic here. Kind of wrap this thing up here. So, historical vaccines compared to the proposed COVID vaccines, they are, I believe, in the next week. Both Moderna and Pfizer have their FDA hearings. The crazy part about this, Moderna and Pfizer respectively were done with these vaccines. They made their final adjustment cocktail per se. Before the first case even hit the United States, this vaccine was done. But the clinical process has to be played out like it did, even though it was in an incredibly rushed fashion. A non-traditionally rushed fashion. I'm willing to admit that is concerning because you don't really have a picture of what this might do to you beyond essentially 6 months. Say that you're going to start growing.
Dorf, did I say it does?
Go ahead.
Did I say a dozen reasons? Because I didn't know that one. So make it a baker's dozen, please.
What did you not know
for my reasoning?
What did you not know?
That it was done in February.
Oh, well,
that it was done in February.
Well, they sequenced it. The community sequenced the genome of this virus so incredibly quickly, because that happens when you put massive manpower and computer power on a problem like this. That can be done. They had that information so early, and essentially what we know about vaccine or mRNA vaccine creation now is once you get that sequenced, it's a pretty short route to getting a mRNA vaccine designed. The playbook is out there. It's just you got to figure out what the defense is called. Okay. Better analogy is you have the playbook. You don't know what personnel package the offensive football analogy here. You don't know what personnel package the offensive is, but as soon as you do know it, you know what play you're going to call from there. So, the clinical trial process is taken up till now and is still technically ongoing. They're going to kick it, potentially kick it off where vaccines, they're so ready to go with this that the Moderna vaccine, which is the first one I think it has a hearing this week, they've pre-staged doses of this around the country. So it's not like, oh, okay, well, permission to start making it. They've made absolutely shit tons of it, and it's all over the country, ready to be distributed the second they get the thumbs up. The traditional vaccine was developed by, long story short, it gave you a bit of dead or deactivated virus in the form of an injection. The body would see it as a contagion, develop the necessary antibodies to combat it, and memorize that. Essentially, your immune system then memorizes that for if it faces the real thing, it knows what play to call. It's done it. It's gotten the scouting report. It knows what play to call. An mRNA vaccine, messenger RNA vaccine, instead of giving deactivated or severely weakened virus, what it is, it gives there's what's called a spike protein. So it's a harmless bit of genetic material, RNA material, that elicits the same immune response that it giving you the dead or deactivated or severely weakened virus would do. So it tells you, it causes your immune system to do the same thing. mRNA vaccines have not...
Why can't they do a traditional one?
They probably could. But what I'm about to get you to here, the benefits of an mRNA vaccine, although they never have been used on humans before, we've researched, I believe the research on this and the method has been going, they've been working on this for several decades. This isn't something that they pulled out of their ass in the last 18 months and like, oh, we're going to, fuck it, we're going to try it on live fire, nothing like, we've got this fancy new toy, let's use it on people. No, this is something that they've been working on for decades. The mRNA vaccine manufacturing process is incredibly quicker compared to, it's incredibly faster compared to traditional vaccine production. Now, we don't make vaccines the way we initially did, which was using an animal donor, I believe often like donkeys or chickens, if I remember correctly. Inject it with the live virus, see what antibodies it kicks out, grab some of those, yada yada. We've a long time. We've been able to do that in a laboratory setting without the use of animals for a long time. However, that method is slower to produce a vaccine. It's not to research it, but it's slower in the production phase of things, where a lot more of the mRNA vaccine compared to the same amount of time, effort, and money of a traditional vaccine route. So it's risky. You've seen a couple conspiracy theories going around the internet about it reprograms your DNA. It's not what it does, guys. I'm not a biologist by any means, but for the love of God, RNA cannot reprogram. Not the what RNA viruses can technically reprogram DNA, but that's not what this one does. That's not what it does. Calm down. You believe me, if it did, you'd have concrete proof of that. Also at the same time, it would contain a protein that potentially leaves females infertile. There was a vaccine candidate from Moderna way back in the beginning that contained that protein. It was one of their first 100 things they tried. It got thrown out immediately because it contained that protein. They haven't touched it since. I believe that's what I read. Please don't sue me if I'm wrong about that, but I believe that's what I've read there. That is not the case. That what you'd be getting here does not contain that protein. And if it did, you bet your ass the FDA wouldn't approve it.
Here's Noah Dorf. This is a legit question. I don't know. I know you know a lot more about this stuff than me. But here's one of the kind of, I don't know if it's conspiracy theory, maybe. Let's just call it that for the sake of argument. But is it true that it contains cells from aborted babies?
I don't know.
I know some Catholics are up in arms about that. And to me, from what I've seen, the Catholics are more up in arms with bishops and cardinals who have come out and said, no, you just got to take it.
Well,
kind of sweeping that under the rug.
Topic for another time, but I have enough of my own problems with Church Incorporated. It's what I call the Catholic Church, but oh boy, the Pope doesn't seem legitimate to me. Like how he's the SJW Pope. He essentially came out and alluded that abortion was okay this week, or that was in the last. Oh, come on. It's not your job to remake
this
doctrine.
current
dude.
Pope is Dorf. This Pope, and I'm not with you in the first part of your statement. I'm a devout Catholic, actually.
I know you are.
This
sorry.
Pope is this Pope is actually. Oh no apologies. This Pope has hinted that perhaps Jesus wasn't right about everything. Like, I'm sorry, just right out the gate. Let's call it worst Pope ever. I'm ready to
there's
call
some
it.
other
And
pretty.
yes, I realize Pope Innocent the.
Yeah,
No, Pope Innocent the Third. Gave hit. Yeah, he gave Hitler the idea for putting the stars on the Jews. I get it. Yes, I'm willing to call it. New guy, worst Pope ever. But
Well, there's also been
that's just me.
popes that have had children, not celibate and other stuff. Broke their own rules.
It was no big deal. That was back in the day. It's just how we rolled back then. But hey, listen, if there's any truth to the aborted babies thing in there, I have a bit of a problem with that. It doesn't take that for me to have a problem with the vaccine, though. So that's not the anti-selling point for me. But for those of you out there looking for a reason, looking for an excuse with your employer for whatever, if you are a Christian of any kind, there's your excuse as to why you can't take this vaccine. Okay. If you're not a Christian, stop by my place. I'll baptize you real quick. But I mean, I've heard a lot about this, and it's not from my typical, conspiracy theory areas. This is a big debate amongst bishops and cardinals right now, and priests. So I don't know. I'm not trying to, if somebody in the comments or wants to, shoot us a PM or something about, what could potentially, some truth or some misnomers about this, I'd be welcome to hear 'em.
I researched what I found is do use aborted fetal tissue. This does not. The COVID vaccines do not seem to be one of them. This article that I found, not necessarily a reliable source here. I don't know anything about verywellhealth.com, but they use some examples. Chickenpox, shingles, Hep A, and if you get a standalone rubella vaccine, which is usually part of the MMR.
Mm-hmm.
But COVID isn't the potential COVID vaccines are not on that list, and based on my understanding of the MMR manufacturing process.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I got for you guys.
It's not working, so we're just gonna end it on.
Do you want me to sing a Christmas song or something?